The Speak No Evil remake starring James McAvoy has just been released in theatres, and it's quite the brilliant redo of the original Danish film that came out back in 2022. While its narrative turns can be viewed as predictable by those who haven't seen that original movie, there are individual moments throughout its runtime that build on well-sustained tension, and it primarily thrives on the central performances of McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis, Scoot McNairy, and Hough. It's a film that I think fans of the original will mostly enjoy, and while they may have issues with the changed ending, I think the way that this was escalated in the new film made it effective in a different way. So in this explained analysis, I'm going to be giving you my breakdown of Speak No Evil 2024, discussing full plot details, the ending, and much more. There will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched the film yet, then I would recommend checking it out before watching my analysis. Before I get into it though, if you want to see more on upcoming releases like Speak No Evil, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into my explained video for James Watkins' Speak No Evil remake. So Speak No Evil featuring James McAvoy arrives just 2 years after the original Danish film of the same name. While the release window between the two movies might seem a bit small, viewers familiar with the 2022 version will discover a slightly different experience, especially in the final act of the new film. This shift not only changes the tone a bit, but it also alters the moral implications of the story, affecting the original's impactful social commentary. Still, the remake's conclusion brings intense bloodshed while successfully retaining some of the integral suspense throughout. The new film centres around the American couple in Scoot McNairy's Ben and Mackenzie Davis's Louise Dalton, who strike up a friendship with a couple from England during their vacation in Italy. That couple features James McAvoy's Paddy and Aisling Franciosi's Ciara. Ben helps Paddy after he inquires if anyone is using the sun lounger that has the belongings of his daughter Agnes on it. So Ben clears the space for Paddy, who then carelessly drags the lounger across the pool area, seemingly oblivious to the annoyance he's causing to others there. This immediately highlights the contrast between the reserved nature of Ben's family and the more obvious one of Paddy and Ciara. Eventually, the two families find themselves sharing a lunch together where Agnes, the daughter of the Daltons, forms a bond with Hought's aunt, the supposed son of Paddy and Ciara. During their meal, the Daltons learn that Ant has a unique condition that results in a smaller than average tongue, making communication a challenge for him. They do have an enjoyable time with them all, and as we soon learn for Ben and Louise, it's a moment that stays on their minds upon having issues back in England. Fast forward a few weeks and the Daltons are back in London. After receiving a postcard from Paddy, Ben tries to convince Louise to come with him on a weekend break to the countryside to reunite with Paddy and Ciara at their farmhouse. Louise initially feels hesitant as their relationship with Paddy and Ciara is still quite new. And with all the tension surrounding their marriage and current situation, which includes Louise having previously sent explicit messages with another parent at Agnes's school, Ben's ongoing struggles with job hunting, and their general discontent with life in London, they do decide to embrace this opportunity for a refreshing escape to the country. As the family reaches the farmhouse, an eerie vibe envelops them right away. McAvoy's delight takes on a dark twist as Paddy enthusiastically presents a taste of goose from his farm, specially prepared for the Daltons. He offers Louise a bite and she initially refuses, being a vegetarian, but her desire to avoid conflict and show gratitude results in her having some of it anyway. Still, she spits it into her hand when Paddy looks away. From here, the film gradually intensifies its suspense, showcasing Ciara and Paddy's increasingly bizarre actions and signs of worry when they arrive at their farmhouse. On their first night, Louise spots a revolting stain on their bed, and the both of them notice how neither Paddy nor Ciara check in on the cries of their supposed son Ant. Ben does try to comfort an unsettled Louise by pointing out that their idea of normal is quite different from that of Paddy and Ciara, implying that they shouldn't take these things too seriously. Yet it's evident that Ben's jealousy of Paddy's commanding presence is fueled by his own state of unemployment and current marriage issues. So this initial tension encourages them to overlook the oddities of their first day there. The next day, however, shows that things will only start to get worse. Paddy's intensity, particularly towards Ant, escalates into a violent outburst when Ant misbehaves, only for him to switch back to his normal self soon after. This unpredictable behaviour instills a sense of discomfort in the Daltons, and troubled by this aggressive parenting style, Louise confides in Ben about her unease and her desire to leave. However, their plans take a turn when Ciara invites them to a fancy private restaurant. At dinner, Paddy teasingly jabs at Ben and Louise regarding their sex lives, hinting at a polyamorous arrangement. As Paddy's antics become more outrageous, Ben and Louise remain silent, clearly uncomfortable by what they've seen and heard. Also, Ben is left to pay the bill for their meal, despite Ciara's earlier assertion that they would take care of it themselves. The dinner scene further introduces us to Paddy and Ciara's chef Mike, who we learn plays a significant role later on. After all of this goes down though, we start to get a lot more from Paddy's supposed son Ant. In the 2024 version, Ant takes on a significantly more prominent role. While the adults were at dinner, he engages Agnes in a game of hide and seek with their babysitter and tries to show her Paddy's impressive watch collection. When he picks up a watch with an inscription in a foreign language, Agnes admits she doesn't know its meaning or what the boy is trying to tell her. And Ant also reveals the scars he has on his body. He makes it clear to us and Agnes that he's trying to reveal something, but of course, not being able to speak properly because of his tongue leads to confusion of whoever he tries talking to. Not to mention that Paddy says that his behaviour is wild due to his illness and that he has it in brief patches. So something is clearly going on with Ant. Moving on, later that night after both couples get back home, Louise discovers Agnes snuggled in bed with Paddy and Ciara, which almost pushes her over the edge. They attempt to leave in the middle of the night without Paddy or Ciara knowing so. However, on the way home, Agnes suddenly remembers that her emotional support teddy, Hoppy, is missing from the car. Unable to watch his daughter struggle, Ben decides to turn the car back around. And once back at the farmhouse, Paddy and Ciara take this opportunity to challenge Louise and Ben, pressuring them for an explanation about their abrupt departure without a farewell. They articulate all the legitimate reasons behind their unease, yet Paddy and Louise manipulate this situation, using the Daltons' guilt to keep them there. In a moment of emotional vulnerability, Ciara shares a heart-wrenching story about the loss of their infant daughter, making Ben and Louise feel like they need to stay. And it's reasonable to suspect that this is just one of the numerous lies that they spin for their visitors to not leave. But everything eventually comes to a head, and these lies don't hold for too much longer. Agnes uncovers a chilling secret when Ant guides her to a concealed cellar filled with the possessions of previous families. The eerie collection of postcard invitations, similar to the one received by the Daltons at the start, along with luggage, phones and stuffed animals, highlights the gravity of the situation. Ant then presents Agnes with a photo album featuring Paddy and Ciara alongside various couples at their farm. As he turns the pages, he draws attention to a child in one image, then the same child in the next, revealing that Paddy and Ciara are enticing families to their home to eliminate the parents and claim the child for themselves. The unsettling detail is that the child changes with each family, suggesting that when they target a new family, the previous child will be killed. And with that in mind, Ant warns Agnes that she is the next victim. He also reveals a photo of his family to Agnes, showcasing an image of himself with his tongue cut out, contradicting the illness that Paddy claimed he had. The picture also captures his father with an arm around him, sporting the very watch that now belongs to Paddy, hinting that his vast collection consists of mementos from the men he has murdered. Ant finally gestures scissors to Agnes, indicating that Paddy and Ciara silenced him by cutting off his tongue to prevent him from sharing the truth. So this revelation sheds light on Ant's behaviour and his emotional distance from Paddy and Ciara throughout the movie. This brings us to the ending of the film where things really hit the fan. When Agnes discloses the truth to her parents, they lie that she has just started her period as they cover to make their exit. On their way to the car, Paddy also taunts them, making Ben climb a building to get Hoppy from a gutter and slashes his tyres, which means some time is needed to fix them. They do get this done and finally begin to leave, but once they make their way towards Paddy's controlled gate, he activates the locks and hurls Ant into the lake, knowing full well that he can't swim. The Daltons quickly jump in to rescue him, but are soon captured by Paddy and Ciara. In a moment reminiscent of earlier events, when Ben inquires about their motives, Paddy points to their passive demeanour and tells them that they let him do this. But buying some time, Louise brandishes a box cutter she had concealed in her pocket and slashes at Paddy's face. During their efforts to escape, Ciara pleads for their help, asserting that she was one of Paddy's earliest victims and has been trapped by him since she was as young as Agnes. The movie ends quite ambiguously over whether her story is actually true, but subsequent scenes do show Paddy's verbal abuse towards her, meaning it very well could be. It's an aspect that isn't part of the original, and I guess it does feed well into the situation that the Daltons find themselves in, and the one that has affected Ant with the death of his family too. Anyway, just as it seems that the Daltons are on the verge of freedom, Chef Mike from before suddenly arrives on the scene and blocks their escape route. In a frantic rush, they sprint into Paddy and Ciara's house and secure all the windows and doors. Inside, the family still face struggles, but thanks to Louise's on-the-go adaptation to all this horror, they start to fight back. The chef meets a brutal end with a strike to the head, Ciara is thrown from the roof, and Paddy, who has been drugging his young victims, meets a savage end at the hands of Ant, reversing the darker resolution of the original. He smashes his face with a rock over and over, and while this violence is at first jarring, it seems a just conclusion for such an evil person. In the end, Ben, Louise, Agnes and Ant, all deeply affected, drive away from the farm to safety. And in a touching final shot, Agnes hands her Hoppy toy to Ant in the aim of giving him some comfort. It's definitely a more uplifting ending in comparison to the original, and that Danish version further explored the boundaries of obedience. In that film, Agnes is violently taken from her mother, her tongue severed before her distraught parents, and Bjorn, who is Ben in the original film, and his wife Louise descend into a quarry where their captors hurl rocks at them until they meet a tragic end. That film concludes with their captors, Patrick and Karen, returning to the Italian resort, having Agnes with them. So the 2024 version didn't have that level of grimness, but what it did have was a level of intensity that was sustained right up until its ending. It presented a new twist on that ending, providing a different kind of message surrounding the issues it dealt with. But that was my breakdown and analysis for Speak No Evil 2024. As a whole, I thought James Watkins' remake was an excellent one, and while I think that the film could have been cut down in parts and sequences became very predictable and went on a bit too long, the overarching tension and tone of the piece did a great job at making you feel uneasy throughout the course of it. McAvoy again delivered a fantastic performance to really drive a lot of these scenes, and I was also very impressed with some of the supporting cast, especially with both the displayed strength of both Mackenzie Davis and Dan Ho's characters. Overall, I'm excited to see what director James Watkins does next, because this was a surprisingly strong effort by him. But I do hope this breakdown did help some of you guys understand the film and the main details a bit better, and overall, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it, so don't forget to let me know down below in the comment section. For more videos on upcoming film releases like Speak No Evil, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.